Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has accused Harvard University of coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party on its own campus. And there may be no better example of that than welcoming Luana Yurong Jiang to speak at Harvard's commencement ceremony. Before attending Harvard, Jiang volunteered with a Chinese Communist Party-controlled group, the International Department of the China Biodiversity Coalition and Green Development Foundation. We all know how green China is. A group that also signed a cooperative agreement with the Chinese military. According to a Daily Caller report, the group was founded 40 years ago by a People's Liberation Army general, we love those generals, and is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party and Chinese government agencies with deep ties to China's military and intelligence networks. So TW, do you think that this revelation and all of what the Trump administration is going against Chinese students coming into the U.S. universities, do you think that's going to make a big difference in terms of them not letting them in or to avoid threats like this?
Well, I hope so. I mean, obviously, the Trump administration still controls who gets a visa and who doesn't. And it is a privilege to come to this country. And if you have ties to the Communist Chinese Party and you've been supportive of their ideology, I'm not sure that you deserve to be here in the United States of America. And the fact that Donald Trump is standing up to that is important. But the question becomes, when did Harvard get so dependent on the Chinese? I mean, again, you look at some of their funding, it is outrageous. That $38 billion that $38 billion endowment they have, a lot of that is funded by the Chinese. And that begs the question of why. But
you have to look at this particular case, the biodiversity. Like, who's against biodiversity?
The Chinese are. The Chinese are against it.
And in China, everything is connected to the Chinese Communist Party. So it's going to be very hard to not find commencement speakers or other Chinese students who don't have links or their parents or their aunts.
Yes. I'll do it for half the price she did it, whatever it was.
Why not find the next J.D. Vance that could go to a Harvard University who, is from the middle of Appalachia, who can go to that.
Instead of President Xi's daughter who went to Harvard.
President Xi, thank you. Why? Because we don't need the infiltration of Chinese communists in our country. They hate America. They want America to fail. And this whole idea of biodiversity, give me a break. China is like the leading air polluter in the world. And you know what? Harvard makes a lot of money off these international students. And a lot of these students that are going to Harvard, they're from China. It's just very strange, and they should be investigated.
Well, I say, with the open borders for the last 4 years, we had literally tens of thousands, the equivalent of Chinese military divisions of young men come in across our southern border that are in the United States of America. The Chinese are... They're
not all going to Harvard?
No, they're not. No, they're definitely not. And we don't know where they are for the most part. But the Chinese communists have a 100-year plan to take over the world and dominate the planet. And they are the most totalitarian regime on the planet today. And they are the most murderous regime in the history of humankind. Since the Maoist Revolution in 1949, they murdered between 50 million and 75 million of their own people. They're the most bloodthirsty gang of commies and killers the world has ever seen. They're planning on taking over the world, and I think Harvard is planning on helping because they are closer on the political spectrum to Mao Zedong at this point, certainly to Xi Jinping, than they are to John F. Kennedy.
Well, Harvard has a history of ties to China's Communist Party. The House Select Committee on China recently outlining to Harvard several national security concerns, including Harvard's training of members of a Chinese paramilitary group central to the genocide of Uyghurs, Defense Department research partnerships with Chinese military-linked universities, collaboration with Iranian government-funded researchers, and organ transplant research with China, despite evidence the Chinese Communist Party is forcing organ harvesting. Liang gave her commencement address just 10 days after the Select Committee's letter. So, TW, you think, I don't think this is the best timing in terms of, you get the letter, and I guess they probably had already invited her to give that commencement speech, and so it was hard to row that back.
Well, I mean, again, now that their funding has come under consideration, I think they're going to be a lot smarter about who they invite and who they don't. But ultimately, the question is, the parents of these students, is this a person you really want your child listening to when they're...
She gave a perfectly fine speech. It was about accepting international students and how Chinese students can contribute to, implicitly about how they can contribute to intellectual diversity.
I'm sure she advocated for more Chinese communist students coming into the United States.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.